I'm going to start this video with a question for myself and for you. I don't want you to rush to answer it, but by the end of this video, I definitely want you to leave a comment letting me know what your thoughts are. And I want you to be honest. Don't be a biased fan, even if you're not that big of a OKC lover or if you have a problem with the Shea whistle. Just be honest, right? And I have the privilege of having a community that has knowledgeable basketball people and who know their stuff. So I want y'all to really be honest. Are we witnessing one of the best teams of all time? And I don't like to jump the gun. I don't want to be dramatic here. There have been some really, really good teams in the history of our sport. But especially when you think about our generation with the context that comes with the OKC Thunder, how young they are, how they've been constructed, just the team aspect. When you think of some of the greatest teams of all time, you're going to jump to like the Golden State Warriors, who had Steph Curry and Draymond and Clay, and they won the 73 games, but then they lost in the finals and went and added one of the greatest, if not the greatest scorer of all time, Kevin Durant, and of course they went crazy. You might think about the big three Heat that went and got LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. This isn't that. This isn't that. And then you'll have like the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe, like two of the most dominant, the most dominant big and one of the greatest shooting guards of all time. You'll think about like Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time. Like this team is great without some of those big pieces that I just named with some of those other great teams. And then when you talk about this generation, so if you can remove Michael and the Showtime Lakers and Larry Bird and, you remove that, I'm trying to live in the moment and grasp exactly what I'm watching, because oftentimes in my life as a fan, as an analyst, as a basketball lover, you'll be in the moment watching things and then it'll hit you 5 years later like, man, I was really watching an all-time run, or I was really watching an all-time team and I didn't really grasp it. I'm trying to make sure that I'm not missing this in real time, because some of the things that I see from this team in these playoffs for stretches, it's just mind-boggling. Like, for example, I have a lot of notes. They gave me a lot of notes to write about today's game in every single quarter. But we'll start in the first quarter, like we always do when we recap these games. The Timberwolves, I love some of the things that I saw from them in this game, right? There are obviously going to be things that I didn't like. They lost by 15 points. They came out and they crashed the offensive glass. And that was one of the things that I talked about last game. Like Rudy, I don't think he is that good of an offensive player. He's phenomenal in all time and is, has a legendary career with what he's been able to do and accomplish on the defensive side of the basketball. But offensively, he is arguably one of the worst offensive players in the entire league when you think about what his role, responsibility, and his expectation is offensively at 7-2. You just don't get anything. And it's a hard watch, right? But the offensive glass is where his presence should and can be impacted, even if he's not going to be able to give you 10 points as a 7-2 center. And they got 7 offensive rebounds in this first quarter, and that was really, really, really good. It was impressive, and I loved it. But here is where it's like you can't win for losing against the OKC Thunder, because you go and you get 7 offensive rebounds, but then their defense is so good. The Timberwolves, they went 1 of 7 on those 7 offensive rebounds. So usually when you get offensive rebounds, you get second and third opportunities to get a bucket and you eventually score. No. OKC was like, hey, you're doing a good job. We ain't boxing out. Y'all able to get these offensive rebounds, long rebounds here and there. But just because you're getting them don't mean we're going to let you score. So 7 offensive rebounds, 1 of 7 for 2 points in the first quarter. It's mind it's kind of crazy, because you're probably in the locker room preaching this as a coach and you're solidifying this point, like, let's be aggressive, and you're doing it, but you still can't get anything out of it because this defense doesn't care. They're not giving you anything. I said it in the first game recap. This defense is one of the most suffocating defenses ever. And I know OKC, y'all beat the Nuggets, and every time y'all success come up, I'm sure OKC fans don't hate to hear the Denver Nuggets constantly as if, they're still in the playoffs. But it again makes me so impressed with how the Nuggets were able to take that into 7. And I'm excited to one day, when we get to the offseason or whatnot, revisit that series to really dive in and rewatch and relook at things that I wasn't able to because of the pace of the playoffs and all of the games that were happening. The Timberwolves also shot 5 of 17 on non-3-point field goals. You know what I mean? They put an emphasis in this game to be in attack mode because they shot 51 3-point shots last game. In this game, it dropped significantly. I'm looking at it right now. They shot 39 3-point shots, which I like, being aggressive and doing your thing. But it's just the fact that the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're not going to let you thrive. And then on the other side, the Thunder, they lived in the paint and was able to be comfortable for majority of this game. Besides, like the fourth quarter was probably the best or the toughest quarter it was for the Thunder as far as finishing in the paint. And they still had a really good quarter scoring there. But you start off the game for Oklahoma City Thunder on the offensive end. They go 7 of 9 in the paint for 14 points, 11 of 22 from the field, shooting 50%. And then he shot 1 of 8 from 3. And it's like, when you go 1 of 8 from 3, that's a bad quarter for a lot of teams. Oklahoma City Thunder finds a way to be able to prevail and still have success when they're not able to knock down those perimeter shots. And that's been a question that a lot of us have brought up in our analysis when we've talked about this team in these moments and how they were going to look in the playoffs and like the things that were going to be able to quote unquote hold them back. They find a way to overcome those shortcomings. And they shot 6 free throws in that first quarter. You got Shea 3 of 3 for 8 points. J-Dub 3 of 4 for 16 points. I mean, your best two players, offensive players, start the game 6 of 7 for 14 points. It's just like, again, a really, really strong start to a game. You can't ask for a better start. And they win that quarter 29-25. Anthony Edwards on the other side, he shoots 10 field goals in his opening quarter. Only 2 of those shots were from 3. So I was proud to see the emphasis in Anthony Edwards' game to make a mindset of not being a settler and driving and, trusting his teammates early on. And that was something that was evident in the broadcast. You kept hearing Doris Burke, Richard Jefferson talk about trusting your teammates. You're going to have to, because they had bodies and bodies and bodies extremely gapped up to the point where they're saying we're willing to allow anybody but Anthony Edwards to not only beat us, but to keep y'all in the game. Like, we don't even want to allow Anthony Edwards to allow y'all to have breathing room, let alone win. Then we go off into the second quarter, and the Timberwolves, they have another quarter that was very reminiscent of game 1, where they took 20 shots this quarter. 13 of those 20 shots came from behind the arc, and they finished this quarter with 1 free throw. So they went the entire half opening the game with only 1 free throw, which I understand there's been a lot of talk, and I've talked about it in my last video about how much the foul conversation, as far as foul baiting and flopping and all of this, it can become annoying. But these are the conversations that I don't mind from people. Like, it is crazy to have 1 free throw in an entire half. The 1 free throw is the and one that Anthony Edwards had in the second quarter or whatnot. And I don't think that's cheating. I don't think it has anything to do with the Timberwolves. I don't think it has anything to do with the Thunder. I think that is an officiating thing, which is why I don't think it was a surprise that they came out and shot, 13 free throws in the third quarter? If I'm not mistaken, they shot 13 free throws in the third quarter. So it was like in half, the officials met up or something and talked like, man, I didn't realize like the Timberwolves only had 1 free throw on Anthony Edwards and 1 on a game where that opening quarter, you could see they switched. They were offensively, on the glass a lot more. They drove the ball. Now the second quarter, they got back into the bad habits of just, taking the shots that OKC was giving them, which were the 3-point shots. But it still was kind of 1 free throw. It's not a lot of NBA teams that are just gonna have halves where they only shoot 1 free throw. And I was very interested to see the response to that and to see that they shot the 13 free throws. I was like, it feels like some of these calls in that second half were makeup calls because of the lack of calls y'all got in the first half. And I believe, again, that's not about Shea. That's not about Brunson. That's not about foul baiting. That now is a conversation for the referees to figure out the way that they want to call a game. Because as a viewer who does not have a dog in this race or in this fight, where I'm a neutral fan watching this, it's like I want to see consistency. It don't have to mean that both teams shoot the same amount of free throws. I just want to see some consistency. You know what I mean? It's very it makes the game dragged out. It's just, I don't know. It's just the refs have a job to do, and we give them a lot of grace because they're not going to make every single call, but some things gotta kind of make sense. But with all that being said, another tough quarter shooting for them. They went 10 of 20 from the field, but they shot 4 of 13 from three. Again, one free throw. They had 0 offensive rebounds the second quarter. So you come out of the gate, if you're Minnesota, and you put an emphasis on crashing the offensive glass. And I know it didn't materialize into points because OKC still found a way to get stops even when they allowed second chance opportunities. But to see the Timberwolves get absolutely none in the second quarter was a little bit disappointing. They shot a little bit better in the paint, 6 of 7, 12 points in the paint. Again, emphasis on driving the basketball and scoring and not being, a team that settles a bunch. But then again, it's like that also goes to my argument with them being so happy-go-lucky with the three-point shot. You go 4 of 13 from three, but then, on your 9 3-point shots, the 7 shots that you took that weren't threes, you went 6 of 7. Like, you had really good success. So, yeah, they have to figure out a way to continue to put their foot on the gas as far as getting points in the paint and driving and putting their head down. They got 5 fast break points in this quarter. I don't think they had a single fast break point in the first quarter or in the third quarter, if I'm not mistaken. Anthony Edwards, seeing bodies. That's what I wrote in my notes in the second quarter. Bodies on bodies on bodies. 3 of 8 from the field, 1 of 5 from three. Again, he's having more success driving the ball, but again, it's extremely gapped up, and he has to take the shots that he's given, and that's been what he's done all season long, which is why he's turned into such a prolific shooter, because people respect his drive so much, and he's found a way to make himself a killer from behind the arc. And then on the other side, the Thunder have another incredible quarter. It's almost identical to their first quarter. 11 of 22 again, 50% from the field. They made a few more three-point shots, going 3 of 12, another 4 free throws. And then they had 4 second chance points, and then 10 points in the paint, going 5 of 5. Not much resistance there. A strong quarter from Caruso, who gave you 7 points off the bench there. And then OKC wins this quarter again, 29 to 25, to go into the half with a 58 to 50 point lead. So you look at the halftime numbers, the biggest story is really Julius Randle, which I think is going to go into another story in itself. 1 of 5 at the half with 2 points. I think he had a couple of turnovers. Naz Reid had 3 fouls going into the half as well. Fast forward in a bit, Julius Randle didn't play a single minute in the fourth quarter. After having such a big game for them in a monstrous game, and that first game that they lost, to see his game end up being this, where he went 2 of 11, ended with 6 points, 4 turnovers, 2 fouls, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 free throws, 0 of 3 from 3. Tough, extremely tough. And I don't know what it was about with him not playing at all in the fourth quarter. I don't know if Finch wanted to see something, if he just liked to look better. But I definitely think even on a tough night for Julius Randle, he's still one of the better options on this team of making something happen. The turnovers are a big issue. You know what I mean? It was a big issue for Dante DiVincenzo as well. This team had 14 turnovers. 8 of those 14 turnovers came between Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle. But again, Julius Randle still offensively gives you a bigger punch than a lot of the other options that you have. So I'm very curious to hear the post-game interview, which I'm sure is happening right now as I'm recording this, from Chris Finch to explain that. 42% from the field, 36% from three, 9 of 24 from three for the Timberwolves in that first half. And again, only 1 free throw. You look at OKC, only shot 20% from three. They're going into the half with an 8-point lead where they didn't have the greatest shooting half as far as perimeter shooting. And because of their defense and because they were able to get what they wanted in that paint, it really didn't matter. And it probably won't matter for the rest of this series if the Timberwolves can't find consistent success on the offensive end. You know what I mean? Like, it is extremely tough. 12 of 14 on in the paint for the Oklahoma City Thunder with 24 paint points in the first half. And then we go in the third quarter. This is where Oklahoma City has been lethal. They won this quarter 35-21. And again, when you can't score, Oklahoma City is going to take advantage of you not being able to score. And that's when the run starts. That's when this crazy, incredible, crowd that I love so much gets going. And before you know it, you look up and you're down 16, 17 points in a blink of an eye. And it goes from being an arm's reach where you're only down 8, a couple possessions, to boy, you look up and it's an 18-point lead and the game is kind of getting further and further away from you. Minnesota, they couldn't get anything going in this quarter. Oklahoma City really suffocated them here. They shot 6 of 20 from the field, 0 of 6 from 3. Again, they did get the 13 free throws after having 1 free throw in an entire half. And in this quarter, they only had 1 assist. That was something that stood out to me as well. Like, that's always an incredible sign of defense too. Like, when you're able to stop this team from trusting each other and moving the basketball, and a lot of that comes from the amount of pressure that Caruso, Case and Wallace, Shea has his length and got in the passing lanes a lot in this game for some steals. Chet has length and size. J-Dub is a versatile defender. Isaiah Hartenstein is mobile for a big. They do a really good job of just being everywhere. They force 5 turnovers. And it led to them being able to get out and have 8 fast break points in this game. I think that may have been the most fast break points they've had in any quarter so far in these 2 games. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking off the top of my brain. And that's what happens. They turn off the water. They don't allow you to hit any threes. They turn you over, and they're getting out in transition for easy buckets. 16 points in the paint for OKC in this quarter, going 8 of 11, just, again, living in that paint and getting absolutely everything that they want. 13 of 23 from the field, 4 of 10 from 3. They're starting to make some threes, and now the game is kind of getting out of reach. Another 7 free throw attempts for them. 8 bench points. 8 bench points. 6 of those points came from Case and Wallace. Case and Wallace himself in the third quarter outscored the Minnesota Timberwolves bench. Tough third quarter from Dante Nas and Nickeil Alexander-Walker going 0 of 5. We talked about that in the first game, how poor they shot it in the first half. They had a better first half this game, but this third quarter was bad for not only them, but the overall team. And again, this is where OKC kind of put their foot on the gas and made it a too big of a gap difference. The fourth quarter, you saw a bit of an improvement. I like some of these decisions. Again, the Julius Randle one is one that we're going to have to hear from Chris Finch. Rudy Gobert only playing 5 minutes in this quarter. I'm not necessarily against. They took 9 3-point shots. 9 of their 19 shots came from 3. They only shot at a 2 of 9 clip. Another incredible quarter of free throw shooting. 12 free throw attempts this quarter. They went 10 to 12. So to put that in perspective, you go with having a half where you shoot 1 free throw, and then the entire second half you shoot 25 free throws. That's the consistency I'm saying that the referees just have to be better. Like that removing OKC, just that in the discrepancy. I'm sorry, the discrepancy between your own team, just comparing the Minnesota Timberwolves to themselves, nothing to do with the Thunder or foul baiting or anything. That's an entirely different, separate conversation. But just the responsibility for the refs to give us a consistent whistle to know what type of game we're playing. I think we have to hold them accountable a little bit. They ultimately won this quarter by 7 points. I think a lot of that came from being able to get to the line. They toned down the turnovers just a tad bit. I still didn't like some of the turnovers. They'll get a stop or they'll get something going their way, and they allow Caruso and J-Dub to just tip the ball. And one of the times J-Dub just kind of stole the ball back. And, I think you just got to value the basketball a lot more. Better quarter for Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You give them 11 points off the bench in this quarter. Anthony Edwards, 3 of 6. Another quarter where he was just really, really good in the paint. Love that move he had late in this fourth quarter. We kind of sidestep left-hand finish on the left side of the floor, attacking the rim. But, yeah, I think they had a little bit more success going a bit smaller and matching up a little bit there. You still had Chet just being a force and a monster. I love the game that Chet had tonight. 11 points from J-Dub in his fourth quarter, going 5 of 7. He was as consistent as you can ask for. This is one of my favorite games from the trio of Shea, Chet, and J-Dub. They all came to play and delivered. A little bit better defense on Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in this quarter. He shot 2 of 6, but again, that's because the points in the paint. You look at it, OKC scored 18 points, but it was on 9 of 17 shooting in the paint. That's, again, not that bad, defense for the Timberwolves. After we went through all of these quarters where The Thunder were just high level 65, 70 something percent shooting in the paint. And in this quarter, you kind of, oddly enough, without Julius Randle and Rudy, were able to have a bit more success protecting and guarding the paint. Granted, you have some guys playing lower minutes or whatnot. Caruso plays 7 minutes before fouling out. Case and Wallace play 8 minutes this quarter. Different look. Fast break points, 2 for each of the teams. Second chance points, the Timberwolves had 6, and OKC had 6. But yeah, I just look at the way that the Timberwolves guarded in this fourth quarter as far as the paint goes. Paint protection was a lot better. I'll just say, though, going forward, it's going to be tough for the Timberwolves because of how good the Oklahoma City Thunder defense is. It's very evident that they're not going to allow Anthony Edwards to beat them. They damn near don't want him to be able to keep them in the game. They're going to force shots from Jaden McDaniels. They're going to give him that corner 3. They're going to treat Rudy like they should, which is like he's non-existent. They don't even really seem to care too much about Mike Conley. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Dante DiVincenzo, and Naz Reid played better today. They're going to need to be even better in these next games because it's legitimately like, hey, cut it off the water of Anthony Edwards. Make some of these other guys beat us. If they can, great. I don't think they're going to care that Jaden McDaniels had 22 in his game. I don't think they're going to care that Nickeil Alexander-Walker had 17. They're just so good defensively. They gave up 13 offensive rebounds, and it didn't seem to hurt them at all. Gave up 7 offensive rebounds in the first quarter, and that only materialized to 2 points for Minnesota. I can't harp on that enough. Like, this is a game where, you get 7 offensive rebounds in the first quarter, you feeling good. You're feeling extremely good. It's almost unrealistic to say that you get 7 offensive rebounds and it only materializes into 2 second chance points. That sounds like some unrealistic shit. That sounds like I made something up. So, that's just going to be one of the biggest things. The other thing is the fact that the Timberwolves, as good as they can be defensively, we're not seeing it in this series, right? Like, OKC lived in the paint, and OKC has been able to thrive in the series without knocking down 3-point shots. So if they do, or when they do have a game where these 3-point shots are falling, these games are going to be blowouts. If they can beat you by 15 points on a night where they shot 27% from 3, I don't want to see a night where they're able to shoot 37 or 38%. It's going to be a very scary night when that starts to happen. You know what I mean? So, yeah, and they just look so comfortable offensively when they're out there. They look so comfortable. 6 turnovers. There's really no pressure. It's 2 different experiences when you're watching each team on offense. The Minnesota Timberwolves are literally grinding and working for every single basket that they get. And then it's like OKC, they flowing, they getting fast break points. They get, second chance opportunities, 2 feet in the paint, scoring with ease. I don't know. It's a very tall task for the Timberwolves, I'll tell you that. Luckily for them, they get to go back home. And like I said in the intro, a series doesn't start until the team was on the road. So you go home, you regather yourselves, you have a couple of days to try to, revert a game plan. It seems like Chris Finch went and tweaked with some things in that second half and in that fourth quarter, giving himself more intel on what some of these other lineups could look like for them and how they could potentially have success. I would study that fourth quarter on how they were able to protect that paint. And again, you got to hope that when you go home, some of these role players play better at home and start to knock down some more of these shots and whatnot. Again, I love the fact that they didn't take 51 threes. I don't think you can beat the Oklahoma City Thunder like that at all. But you still have to shoot it better. 28% is not going to help at all when you look at how much they're gapping up on Anthony Edwards, who went 1 of 9 from 3 himself. So the Timberwolves have a tall order. This game was a lot more fun than the first one. And yeah, their X factor is definitely going to be Julius Randle, like it's been the entire playoffs long. Rudy has to give them something. And boy, I don't know. Again, I'm gonna leave y'all the same way I came in. Talk to me. Are we witnessing one of those teams that 5-6 years from now, we're going to look back and be like, man, that team was X, Y, and Z. They was this good. They was that good. Are we going to be seeing graphics in 2030 saying 7-game series between the Warriors when they won 73 games, or the Warriors with KD and Oklahoma City. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. And if I'm overreacting, to be honest with me and let me know. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm in the moment for these things, and that I don't have to wake up 6 or 7 years from now realizing how good a team was, because I've experienced that before, and it's okay, but it's also good to be able to grasp things in a real moment. As always, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Thank y'all for being as knowledgeable, as loyal, and as encouraging as a community as you guys are. I will see y'all tomorrow for Knicks versus Pacers recap. Hopefully that ends in a win for my Knicks and we don't have another meltdown. But as always, I love y'all, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.